Hello, I'm Deborah Sword. A listener I'll call Chris asked what to do about a colleague I'll call Pat, who's being a gatekeeper. Chris wants to do things and Pat says, no, you can't, which creates a repeating conflict between them. The term gatekeeper is ancient from times when towns had walls to keep out enemies. Gatekeepers guarded and locked the gates at night, which controls who goes in and out. Chris is frustrated that Pat doesn't accept the blame for the conflict. I'll bet you can guess who Pat thinks is to blame. You can put your guess in the comments. And while you're there, also, please subscribe to our podcast. Yes, you're right. In Pat's point of view, Chris is at fault for arguing with Pat's decisions. Pat believes gatekeeping is helpful, like saying, no, you can't start a charity to buy yourself a Ferrari. Chris, on the other hand, thinks Pat's in a rut of old ways, resisting change. Pat has beliefs about how things should be and behaves according to those beliefs. So are gatekeepers conscientious or just stuck in a rut where they cycle in the same grooves in their brain and reject new ideas? Maybe some of each, maybe both. Here's a way to think about your particular gatekeeper to help the gatekeeper understand your point of view by understanding theirs, and you make the change easier for them. Generally speaking, what parties believe is how they behave. Perhaps your gatekeeper believes they're acting in everyone's best interest. They might even think they're making personal sacrifices to keep you safe, like the guards of old. Start by finding out what your gatekeeper believes about the gatekeeping role. What if you ask your gatekeeper something like, tell me what you believe is helpful about your decision to close and block the gate at 8 p.m., using whatever rule your gatekeeper is imposing. Discuss their belief from curiosity and interest, not from judgment and arguments. Now you know the beliefs behind your gatekeeper's behavior. Are you asking your gatekeeper to behave inconsistently with their beliefs? If so, you present a new situation, and if your gatekeeper says no, it's because they're staying with whatever's comfortably familiar, doing what they think is right to believe, and behaving in a way they think is acceptable. Gatekeepers' beliefs and behavior make sense to them. What you call their rut is a script that doesn't cost them much brain bandwidth to repeat. A practice script is easier, faster, and takes less energy than learning a new script. So it does become ruts, and really, it's shortcuts. Brains use a lot of energy, so people save money on thinking fuel. There's a cost to conflict with Chris, but a bigger cost to Pat is rewriting a familiar script that follows Pat's beliefs. Even conflict with Chris is comfortably familiar, so it's cheaper and easier than learning a new script. When the conflict and the script are familiar, it doesn't cost much in energy and brain space to stick with it. So now Chris has choices. You can try this with your gatekeeper. Treat the issue as an exercise the gatekeeper recognizes. Turn the new situation into one they're familiar with. They might say yes when you ask them to do something new if it isn't costly to them to pay in energy. Let's say the gate Pat's keeping was helpful a few years ago, but Chris and the world have changed. Chris can argue for change, but what happens if Pat refuses? It can turn into a trust issue where they fight about who trusts who, you don't trust me, who's more mature, who controls whose life. It becomes a power struggle. The conflict competence is bridging the transition from the old way to the new way, whatever that turns out to be. Maybe it'll be a way neither Chris nor Pat have thought of yet. Let's say Chris wants more freedom to control things, to choose Chris's own hours or how a task is done, whether at home or at work or somewhere else. What are the beliefs behind the current situation? Maybe ask, what makes it work well for you, Pat? And how does your belief make your life easier? Next, think of an analogy for that belief. An analogy is when something is like something else. It's a comparison. Say your gatekeeper's belief is that things staying as they are makes less paperwork for them and keeps you safe. Say, thank you for caring about my safety. Find an analogy. Oh, is that like when I take my dog to his daycare and sign a waiver for their liability for his safety? So they don't want to be liable if my dog is hurt? Is that it? So you've opened the discussion about shifting responsibility for your own safety from your gatekeeper to you. That's a transition in the gatekeeper role. Now you've opened the conversation to talk about how to do it in a way that makes sense to your gatekeeper and is consistent with their beliefs. You want to keep their cost of change low in energy and brain space. So, to summarize, if you own your part of the conflict, there's a chance your gatekeeper will own theirs. Your gatekeeper has beliefs driving their behavior. Arguing doesn't change beliefs. Find out about the beliefs with curiosity and authentic interest. Use an analogy. Help with their transition using the analogy as a bridge from the familiar to the new. How to make a change that's consistent with the gatekeeper's beliefs in a different way. That's the bridge. It's a transition. If you have a specific gatekeeper question to ask, please send us a message. We do want to hear from you. And please do subscribe to our podcast.